Okay, so I'm going to show you how to create the card base for Tinley's Superstar Kid card. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and I'm going to click Place Image. And what I'm basically doing here is taking the image from our website and I'm going to place it on my mat here just so that I can use it as a reference. Okay, so I've got it there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up a file called body.svg. And I'm going to do that by navigating to my Jonathan's Bears SVG kit folder. In the SVG files, it's going to be under the Super Bear folder. And I'm going to find body.svg. There it is, okay? I'm going to put that on my mat. And according to Tinley's instructions, we need to size the width to 3.63 inches wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Keep Proportions and set the width to 3.63 inches, and I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. Okay, you see how it was resized there? I'm going to take it and I'm just going to put it right in the middle of my screen. Now the next file that she calls for is the cape. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Import SVG, locate the cape. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take it and rotate it. And I'm going to hit Keep Proportions and size it to 5.05 inches wide, okay? And I'm going to take it and drag it to the appropriate location on top of our little bear here. Now there's one quick thing that I can do so that this image makes more sense, okay? I want to put the cape behind the bear. So what I'm going to do is with the cape highlighted, I'm going to go under Layer and Arrange, and I'm going to take the layer and lower it. Okay, I'm going to take the layer and lower it. So you see what that did? That took the cape and put it behind the bear. To me, that makes more sense, and it gives me a better idea of where I actually have it positioned and how it's supposed to look. Okay, so that looks good to me. Now the next step is to set these files to have a shadow, a round shadow of 1.0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my first shape, and under Style, I'm going to do Shadow Rounded, and it's already at 1, so I can just leave it alone. Okay. Now I'm going to try to click on my cape, which I just did, and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so there you go. And now the reason we created the shadow was so that when we cut the actual bear out, it'll have a nice little frame to sit in. We're basically creating a little border for the actual bear that's going to sit on top there. Okay, so now the next step is going to be to take both of these. And you see what I'm doing here? I'm clicking and I'm dragging a little box around both of these. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click anywhere on the bear and I'm going to click on Group. And basically by grouping these, it doesn't matter where I click, I'll be selecting the entire image. Basically both shapes are now together in a group. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it down here. And the next thing I'm going to do is with it highlighted, I can right click and I can go to Copy. Okay, see how I did that? I right clicked on the bear and I hit Copy. You got to make sure that everything is selected. Okay, so I hit Copy, and now I'm going to click onto the mat, and now I'm going to right click on the mat and hit Paste. Okay, you see what that did? It basically copied and pasted that entire element. Okay. Now the next step in creating this card shape is taking this element and basically rotating it so that it's upside down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my Shift key on my keyboard, and I'm going to grab this anchor here, and I'm going to basically rotate it. Okay, and I'm almost there. There we go. Now I'm going to release my Shift key. Now holding down the Shift key while rotating this image basically rotates it at a certain increment. And I know that at that increment, once I get it upside down, it's going to be exactly 180 degrees. Okay, so watch what happens if I try to rotate it without holding down Shift. Watch. See how more fluid it is? Now when I get it here, I can eyeball it, and that's fine. But if I wanted to, I can hold down Shift, and you'll notice that it basically rotates it at, I think it's like 15-degree increments. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate it until it's completely at 180 degrees. And I'm going to take it, and according to the directions, all we're going to do is make sure that these two are overlapping slightly. Okay, so when you cut it out, you've got a card shape, and you're going to score it right here, and this is where you're going to fold it. Now, I'm going out of order here, but the next thing and the final thing that you're going to want to do before you cut this is you're going to want to highlight everything. Okay, so you see that I'm clicking here, and I'm dragging a box around all of these elements. And then I'm going to go over here, and I need to make sure that the weld button is selected so that when everything cuts, it'll cut welded. So now let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to hit weld, and now I'm going to hit preview. Okay, and when I do that, this red right here is what it's actually going to cut. Okay, now let me show you what happens if we don't hit weld. Okay, if we don't hit weld and preview it, look what happens. It's going to make all these extra cuts, and you're going to have all this extra paper everywhere. Nothing's going to make any sense. So you want to make sure that you highlight everything and that you hit weld, okay, over here on the right-hand side. And now if we preview it, there you go. You've got your card base, and you're basically going to score it right here, and you're going to fold. So once you've got the card base done, you're just going to cut out the top portion, which is just the actual bear itself, out of whatever color you want. Apply it, and you've got yourself a super cute Superstar card. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Tamra's Astronaut Bear card. I'm going to go to File and click on New Project, and I'm not going to save that. Okay, so the first step is to cut the rocket bottom, and I'm just going to show you a few of these steps. Okay, so according to her directions, we're going to cut the rocket bottom at 6 inches tall. So I'm going to click on Import SVG, okay, and I'm going to browse to the Astronaut Bear folder. Okay, and here is the rocket bottom SVG file. I'm going to click Open. Now with this file highlighted, she says that we're supposed to cut this at 6 inches high. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it's highlighted, go over to Keep Proportions, and type the number 6 here, and I'm going to hit Enter on my keyboard, and that resizes it. Okay, so we've got that at 6 inches, and according to her, we can go ahead and just cut this out of whatever colored paper we want, preferably a metallic gray. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did in the last bit. I'm going to go ahead and place the image here, okay, so we can have a reference and we can see what we're actually dealing with. All right, I'm going to put that right in here. So there's the gray that we just cut out, okay. Now the next step for the middle, okay, I'm going to go ahead and import the rocket_middle, and that too needs to be sized to 6 inches tall, okay. So you'll see here that it fits perfectly. Okay, according to her instructions, what we're going to do with this middle piece is we're going to black it out. So with it highlighted, we're going to go under Style, and we're going to click on Blackout. Okay, and what that does is it takes any inside cuts or inner cuts on any shape, and it basically blacks them out so it's one solid shape. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Blackout. Okay, and that middle piece you're going to cut on light gray, as you can see here. And that's going to go right on top there. Okay, now the top part is a little customized. Now you don't have to do it this way. The reason that Tamra did it this way is because she has a cute little sweet treat cup that's filled with jelly beans, okay? And you can see a profile shot of that on our blog. But if you want to follow along the way that she designed it, to use that little cup, you're going to want to follow these instructions. Otherwise, you're just going to cut it the way that it was designed. Okay, so we're going to click on Import SVG, and there is the rocket top. Okay, and according to her instructions, we're also going to cut those at 6 inches tall. Okay, so I have it highlighted here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Keep Proportions, make sure that it's checked, and I'm going to size the height to 6 inches. Okay, so you'll notice that once I place this on here, that's the perfect size. Now normally, like I said, if you're not following her instructions to use this sweet treat cup to put the jelly beans in, you're just going to cut it just like this, okay? And you see how the rocket's going to look. But if you want to use the sweet treat cup and follow along with her instructions, here's what you need to do. So with the shape highlighted, we're going to right click and we're going to click on Break Apart. Okay, and what that does is it separates these individual elements. Okay, so we can click on them one at a time. They're not one piece or one group. Okay, and so the next step is to size one circle to 1.73 inches wide. So we're going to hit Keep Proportions, and we're going to set the width to 1.730 and hit Enter. Okay, and I'm going to just bring this down here for now. And now the next shape, I'm going to highlight this circle, is 2.2 inches wide. So I'm going to type 2.2. Okay, now basically what she asks is that we take and put them on top of each other. So basically what this is going to do, these two overlapping circles, when we look at the preview, you'll notice that all it's going to do is it's going to cut out a cute ring to put around the treat cup. And as far as the stamped window shape here, this little shape here, this is going to be cut at 0.8 inches tall, okay? And that's going to go right here. Okay, now the next part of her card we're going to discuss is the actual card base. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this for now. Okay, so I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to hit Place Image. And here's my image that I have that shows us how she welded it. Okay, so we're just using it as a reference. And I'm also going to import that other image just so that I can use it as a reference as well. Okay, so if we want to follow along with Tamara's instructions, I'm going to delete these files. Okay, and I'm going to move this out of the way as well. Delete this, delete this. Okay, now we're going to keep the same size for the bottom of the rocket. Okay, we're going to import suit 1. Okay, we're going to just put that on the side here, and we're going to import suit 2. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this file, right click, and break it apart. I'm going to delete this shape. Okay, and I'm going to take this and move it up. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to right click, break it apart. Okay, and I'm going to delete these shapes. Okay, so I'm left with the helmet and the base. And now based on her picture, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of overlap it like this. And I'm going to take the rocket and overlap it kind of like that. Okay, now I'm going to just take this and use my arrows on my keyboard to nudge this up a little bit so that it just, basically this bottom part is flush with the bottom of his feet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a box around all these shapes and make sure that weld is selected here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and preview this. And as you can see here, I've got a nice cut here. Now this little part in here, that's not going to cut very well, but we're not done yet. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight these shapes, and we're going to go ahead and shadow each of these shapes. We're going to do shadow rounded. Okay, so I'm going to highlight that, hit shadow rounded, do the same thing there. Okay, and now I'm going to highlight all these, make sure that they're welded, and they are. Okay, I'm going to nudge that up a bit, and now make sure that they're welded. I'm going to preview this, and that looks a lot better. Okay, so based on Tamara's directions, what you're going to do is you're going to cut 2 of these now, and you're going to take one of them, score it at the tip, and then just glue it so that when you open it up, you've got yourself a cool card base. So once you're done with that, you basically cut out the remaining pieces for the astronaut, glue, and you've got yourself another great card.